Few reality series have captured fans, such as Storage Wars. Brandi is one of its most memorable stars. Brandi became famous for her dynamic cooperation with Jared Schultz and aggressive bidding fights. But what occurred once the cameras stopped? Brandi's path is remarkable, from overcoming personal problems to starting new businesses. She shares her life and experiences with devoted fans, from storage units to internet platforms. Her other cast members have had different routes. Barry Weiss's eccentric personality, guest appearances, and fan interactions keep him in the spotlight, while Daryl Sheets concentrates on personal projects and health. The mysterious Dave Hester has also invested in other businesses and caused trouble. In this video, we learn about Brandi and her Storage Wars co-stars' newest activities and how their lives have changed since treasure hunting. Prepare to learn about your favorite storage fighters' hidden pasts and surprises. Brandi never planned to become a reality TV star. The day Brandi entered the world was May 16, 1980. Little is known about the now famous reality TV star's personal life. She was born in Harris, Texas. Despite being on reality TV, Brandi prefers to keep much of her private life hidden from the cameras. Indeed, Brandi ultimately relocated to California, as we know. The celebrity adjusted her intentions along the line, although she had always intended to be a chef. Brandi never intended to become a celebrity on reality television. Brandi decided to try her hand at life on TV when Jared's mother offered her some advice. When Brandi debuted on television in 2006, it was on Rachel Ray. Brandi and Jared opened their thrift store called Now and Then. Not every one of us begins a career at the pinnacle. When Brandi first started working as a carpet cleaner, she met Jared Schultz and fell in love with him. The two quickly developed a relationship and launched their own company, Now and Then, a thrift shop full of interesting finds. The store's first location was in Orange, California, but it was just the start. After receiving advice from Jared's mother, Brandi quickly joined Storage Wars, where she could purchase various items for their upcoming business. It was so popular that Brandi and Jared went on to create another store and get a reality TV show. Brandi doesn't want her children to get into the same industry. When it comes time to retire, many parents want their kids to take over the family responsibilities and continue in their footsteps. Some families have been in the same industry for decades, and each generation adds a unique touch to the family firm. For her family, Brandi does not want the same thing. It may surprise you to learn that Brandi wasn't quite the opposite. The reality star said in an interview with The Inquirer that she wishes her kids would choose their paths in life rather than emulate her or Jared. In Brandi's opinion, it's a competitive market, and she doesn't want her two kids to attempt to rule it. When it comes to auctions, she can talk with experience, no doubt. It was being in the right place at the right time that led to Storage Wars. Unbelievably, before enrolling in Storage Wars, Brandi was unaware that storage auctions existed. Jared was the one who told the couple they might even earn a career from the auctions. Before enrolling in the show, Jared was jobless and seeking a means of earning money. Jared was exposed to auctions by his aunt, who operated a storage facility. Shortly after, he appeared at an auction in Harbor City and ran into the Storage Wars crew. Rumor has it that the producers were so taken by Jared that they extended an offer for him to go on the program immediately. At first, Brandi was unknown to the public. Brandi was instantly spotted and asked to sign up for Storage Wars. Storage Wars anticipated Jared would be well-liked by the audience. When they found out he owned and operated his second-hand shop, the producers knew they had to include Jared in the program. Jared readily consented to the team's request to concentrate the first episode on him and Now and Then. The squad was unaware that there was another person in command than Jared. When the video team got to the business, they saw Brandi interacting with customers. Jared was asked whether it would bother him if Brandi appeared in a few pictures. His reply? "Do you think she wore that dress for nothing?" he questioned them. Jared's first impression and Brandi's efforts paid off as the two became charming. Jared and Brandi aren't married, but they did get engaged. It turns out that since their 1999 first date, Brandi and Jared have been together for more than 20 years. Jared says that when Brandi was employed at a carpet cleaning firm, she initiated contact. But according to Brandi, Jared was the first to express interest. Their connection has grown stronger and stronger over time. Even though they are parents to 2 children, Brandi and Jared have never exchanged vows. In 2016, during an episode of their spin-off series, Jared proposed. Brandi even went wedding dress shopping. However, the couple never did go down the aisle since they felt their bond was strong enough without titles. Even stars of Storage Wars have questioned if the items are staged. For years, many people have wondered whether the things on Storage Wars are genuine or staged. Not just us either. Even one of the show's stars, Dave Hester, has questioned whether things are as they appear. Ultimately, Dave brought legal action against the network that produced the show, A&E. He said that Brandi and Jared were well aware of the staging and had actively encouraged it, and that the network had hidden certain things in lockers. Every allegation was refuted by the network as well as the couple. Fortunately, it doesn't seem like the claims have deterred fans from enjoying Storage Wars over time. It's estimated that Brandi Passante is worth around $2 million. A dream come true for some of us is to have extra money and all we need one day. For Jared and Brandi, this is a reality rather than a fantasy. The couple's appearance on Storage Wars propelled them to levels of popularity they could never have anticipated. This story might have been different if Brandi had chosen to become a chef. Fortunately, Brandi has made a lot of money during her time on Storage Wars, as estimated by Celebrity Net Worth to be worth an incredible $2 million by 2020. Along with being well known around the country, Brandi makes a living by selling the stuff she discovers with Jared and from her many thrift shops. Dave accused A&E of paying for someone to have cosmetic procedures. It wasn't over for Dave Hester yet. Oh no, the show's star had much to say about Storage Wars and the behind-the-scenes activities. According to Dave, one of the cast members was requested to undergo various cosmetic treatments to enhance the show's visual attractiveness. At the time, there weren't many female characters in Storage Wars. This meant that when Dave accused A&E of covering the cost of every surgery, it didn't take long for attention to shift to Brandi. Storage Wars abruptly changed from a program about auctions to one rife with allegations of going above and beyond to get viewers. Ultimately, there was never a satisfactory response to the charges. Storage Wars defended its scenes thanks to the First Amendment. Storage Wars often needed to defend itself throughout the case. As many have discovered, reality TV programs don't always tell it how it looks. But does it imply that they may fabricate scenes and place props to add to the entertainment value? That's definitely what the program appeared to believe. Storage Wars asserted that the First Amendment provided protection. The court promptly granted the series' request, stating that the creators were entitled to free expression. This implies that as long as the material used by the producers keeps the audience entertained, they are not required to utilize real facts. Dave's assertions may not have been as outrageous as they first seemed. Community Service introduced Dave Hester to the world of thrift stores. Dave Hester has advanced far from his lowly origins. It turns out that the reality star sometimes had his second-hand shop and that locker auctions differed from how he used to generate money. Dave did not know the company until he was arrested in 2005. Dave was immediately sentenced to community service when he was found to be driving while intoxicated. Dave was assigned to work at a Goodwill shop, where his duties included organizing and sorting things before they were sold. The reality star quickly became enthralled with the concept and decided to try his hand at life at a second-hand shop. Dave's furniture shop turned into a prosperous thrift store overnight. A producer for Antiques Roadshow has questioned the accuracy of Storage Wars. It is not true that Storage Wars was the first reality TV program of its kind, even if it has become a big hit. Antiques Roadshow was the first television program centered on antiques. It followed individuals who wanted their vintage items assessed before determining whether to put them up for auction. One of the show's executive producers, Marcia Bimco, has talked about Storage Wars, saying she thinks the new program adds more interest to the honest appraisal process seen on Antiques Roadshow. Because the appraisers on Marcia's show aren't interested in buying or selling any items, they are typically more truthful and accurate. The producer has questioned whether someone would leave anything this precious in a storage container. 2020 saw Brandi formally announce her breakup with Jared 2 years before. Rumors have surfaced lately suggesting that Jared and Brandi want to file for divorce. The only issue is that they need to be legally wed. But according to Brandi, the couple truly broke up 2 years ago, and she has been a single mother ever since. On The Dad Diary, a program that Danny Jordan, a former show producer, hosts, Brandi shared her story. Here, the celebrity revealed that she has been their children's primary caregiver for a while and raises them full-time. People quickly questioned Brandi about the veracity of the situation, but she remained silent and didn't disclose any additional information. Jared, for his part, has said nothing at all about it. For abusing Brandi at home, Jared was taken into custody in the spring of 2021. For those hoping that Jared and Brandi's divorce would be a friendly one, the news of what allegedly transpired in April 2021 may cause alarm. Pasante's ex-partner was reportedly arrested by police for 1 count of misdemeanor domestic violence assault during an argument at a Lake Forest pub. Even though Jared's criminal past was well known, there had never been any reports of him abusing Brandi while they were together. Many find his arrest even more shocking in light of this. It seems that since their breakup, things haven't been going well between them. Therefore, something must have occurred that evening to exacerbate their differences further. It's unknown how the arrest turned out and whether Schultz was found guilty of the offense. According to Schultz, he never touched his former partner. TMZ claims the ex-couple got into a furious argument at the pub when their paths accidentally met. It is said that Jared shoved Brandi twice and argued with her and her companions. Then, according to reports, he ran away before the police arrived, but they eventually found him. Despite being arrested, Jared is certain he did nothing illegal that evening. He asserts that she is lying to hurt him and that he never touched her. Although the two sides are presenting differing accounts, it should be noted that others saw the conflict since it took place in a public setting. Witnesses who might support Jared's or Brandi's account of what happened had to exist. 5 months later, Brandi got a tattoo to represent her freedom. Approximately half a year after the purported event, Brandi sparked a fresh social media conversation by sharing an image of a new tattoo. The Storage Wars star had the word "free" and a bird silhouette permanently tattooed on her middle finger. She spoke about how she's happy for the empathy and grace she's gained from suffering trauma, and how she's glad the artwork represents how she managed to escape a very difficult situation in the description. Because of all she has gone through, Brandi thinks she can share these things with others and assist them in trying times. Hashtag National Domestic Violence Awareness Month appeared at the end of the post, implying that she and Jared may not have had a healthy relationship. Both sides have persisted in filming Storage Wars while mostly avoiding one another. Breaking up with Jared was difficult for several reasons. Regardless of their difficulties, he and Brandi spent years creating a life together, so losing it all must have been difficult. Their cohesive appearance on Storage Wars didn't help either, since it sparked doubts about their ability to continue with the program. Since they had been part of the series for a long time, neither was ready to quit. But they also weren't precisely able to do the TV program together. Thankfully, the two have figured out a way to continue shooting Storage Wars without spending much time together. It has been unpleasant whenever they have crossed paths on the program. Brandi told Distractify that the reunions are tense. Since she and Jared parted ways, there's no sign that Brandi has found someone else. Jared and Brandi parted ways a few years ago, and Pasante has yet to find a new partner. By January 2020, Schultz seems to have moved on quickly, as the guy made their connection public on social media. However, his ex has been the complete opposite. She doesn't seem to have a partner on social media, so it's either that she keeps him hidden or she doesn't have someone to share with the public. Brandi could need more time before dating again after the breakup of her last relationship and the reported violence. Furthermore, she may now concentrate on parenting her kids, which she seems to do independently. Since the beginning of Storage Wars, didnt has served as the auctioneer. Not only Jared and Brandi have garnered attention throughout the years, one individual has contributed to the show's success across all 12 seasons. Yes, we are speaking about didnt. Since Storage Wars started, the auctioneer has been at the center of the proceedings and has seen some of the most amazing findings. Dan's life has been filled with great turmoil, not only because of the Storage Wars. The auctioneer's life was turned upside down by a charity event in California called Cars, Stars, and Rock and Roll. Dan quickly found himself immersed in the storyline of what seemed to be a gangster film. At the charity function, a lady approached Dan regarding one of his lockers. While attending the charity event, the Storage Wars presenter and auctioneer was reportedly preoccupied when he saw an unusual person seated at a different table. Dan quickly became well known worldwide when he used social media to convey an amazing account of what transpired at one of his auctions. An older Asian woman, according to Dan, was seated at the adjacent table, glancing over as if she wanted to talk to the celebrity. Although nothing seemed strange, there was something strange about this. Eventually, the lady admitted that her husband was employed by someone who had paid $500 for a locker at one of Dan's auctions. There was a weird safe within. Dan learned all he knows about auctioneering from his grandpa. As someone who has worked in the auction industry for over 50 years, Dan is used to seeing everything strange and amazing. Dan has gained more knowledge about auctions and the potential contents of these fascinating lockers during his career than most of us could have ever imagined. The star's grandpa, a farm auctioneer in the 1970s, inspired it all. When Dan was barely 11, his grandfather quickly taught him everything. Dan almost dropped out of school because of how much his love for the field consumed him. Fortunately, the auctioneer has experience working for several well-known companies. He and his wife Laura now manage American Auctioneers. Dan and Laura have amassed a massive enterprise as auctioneers. Dan had the opportunity to study all there was to know about auctions throughout the 1970s, and he was able to put his newfound knowledge to good use in the 1980s. Dan founded American Auctioneers in 1983. The firm has helped him amass thousands of dollars throughout the years. Dan's current net worth, as reported by Celebrity Net Worth, is an astounding $4.5 million. This is a significant increase above the $46,000 that auctioneers typically make annually. According to rumors, Dan might make $300,000 a year from his work on Storage Wars and his ventures. Dan has sold various items, including homes, porcelain dolls, and almost anything. Dan and Laura are said to conduct 12 auctions per week. Dan and Laura first connected at a restaurant auction. It turns out that Laura's career as an auctioneer wasn't always her goal. In reality, Laura wanted to create her restaurant and offer the greatest pizza in town. Therefore, she wanted to be the restaurant owner. Having worked for other chains, she intended to launch her own in 1993. Laura only needed to stock her kitchen with some pizza-making supplies. Laura first laid eyes on didnt while she was out shopping for new stuff. The auctioneer was occupied with selling the whole contents of a nearby eatery. Laura first believed Dan was merely trying to get her to purchase everything offered. She didn't find out till much later that Dan was flirting. History is what's left. Dan became the well-known reality TV personality that he is today, thanks to Laura. Dan became the well-known and beloved celebrity he is today because of his meeting and subsequent falling in love with Laura. With Dan leading the show, Storage Wars, it wouldn't be the same since so many viewers have fallen for his charisma over the years. Fortunately, Laura saw Dan's magnetism and wanted to capitalize on his hidden ability. She was able to get Dan to post recordings of his escapades online. something amazing was just getting started. After seeing one of Dan's films, the Storage Wars producers decided to meet him in person. Choosing to attend one of Dan's auctions, Tom Beers signed him to the series after immediately falling in love with the auctioneer. A health issue made Laura and Dan closer than before. There are many explanations for Laura and Dan's strong bond. They have been a couple for many years and have developed an amazing business together. But in 2014, something unsettling drew them closer than they had ever thought. After asking strange questions while asleep, Dan awoke. The auctioneer went back to sleep and awoke many hours later. Dan had to be taken to the hospital after collapsing instantly. Dan didn't find out he had suffered a double aneurysm until he came to. Dan's life was finally saved by Laura's CPR on the auctioneer while they were waiting for the emergency crew. Fortunately, he has recovered. Dan and Laura from Storage Wars quickly won over fans. People fell in love with Storage Wars quickly because it was a unique television program that allowed viewers to glimpse what it's like to bid on these enigmatic lockers behind the scenes. Even though the program has made news throughout the years, Laura and Dan are essential to its success. The two never came up with the concept for the show. However, according to an Examiner article from 2015, they inspired it and made it into a popular program many of us are familiar with and like. Drama, suspense, and plenty of humorous moments. Storage Wars seems to be one of the few programs that can catch it all. Dan first had trouble recalling the auction with the safe. After hearing Dan's account about the lady and the safe, people naturally wanted to know what may be inside. Dan initially needed to find out who had purchased the locker or what auction this was meant to be held at. Every week, the auctioneer oversees a large number of sales. It may come as no surprise that he overlooks regular discounts. Is there any reason Dan would remember the sale if they are not unique? The lady said it was important to remember the safe, even if Dan didn't comprehend where he had been. Nobody initially gave any thought to the locker contents during the auction. The locksmith was unable to open the safe using his current methods. The lady said that the new owner of the stuff discovered an unusual safe in the locker as soon as Dan recalled the auction. Despite their best efforts, they could not break into the safe. It took more than pulling and prying to open the door and get inside the safe. Ultimately, they had no option but to make a professional call. When the locksmith showed up, they could not open the safe either. Dan wasn't sure whether the individual was unwilling to attempt or couldn't get into the safe. In any event, the new safe owner finally called another locksmith to see if they could gain entry more easily. After a second locksmith succeeded in opening the safe, they discovered it was filled. Fortunately, the second locksmith gained entry to the safe more easily. They were lucky, even if it took some time to attempt and find out how to open everything. The door swung open with everything inside, and the new owner took possession. It doesn't follow that all locker auctions finish similarly, even if some wind up being a total bust. A lot of bidders anticipate discovering something like a safe in their locker. Before it's put up for auction, people usually take anything valuable out of the locker. That is only sometimes accurate. People sometimes leave something fascinating. The safe was filled, so it turned out that the woman's buddy was among the few. The safe had held millions of dollars before the sale. So what was kept inside the safe? Oh, nothing. Merely $7.5 million in currency. When the ladies revealed that all of this money had been kept in a locker he had sold for $500, Dan couldn't believe what he was hearing. Cash is rare in these lockers since most items taken can be sold quickly for a profit. Finding millions of dollars lying about is completely unheard of. When a bidder wins a locker at auction, they often become the owner of everything inside. But Dan had never in his life heard of anything like this. The auctioneer appeared unable to accept what he was saying, even after having time to absorb the information. Social media instantly became abuzz with news of the discovery. Dan has seen a lot in all his years as an auctioneer, but he has never seen the discovery of millions of dollars hidden within an auction locker. Since it had never been done before, it may not come as a surprise. Nobody would have known that all that money was inside the safe from the outside. Like many others who had been through the auctions over the years, many likely believed it to be an empty safe. Soon after the discovery was made public, pictures of it were widely shared on social media. Dan found out that the locker's new owner wanted to be unidentified, but he could locate them and learn the truth about what had transpired. There was no evidence of how the money got into the locker. Dan and Laura collaborated to try to determine what had transpired. Thanks to their social media films, they thankfully kept the rest of the globe informed when they discovered new facts. Dan acknowledged that it was improbable that someone would forget they had millions of dollars in a storage unit. On the other hand, nobody knew how it got there. Laura speculated that someone may have had a credit card issue, moved away, or been imprisoned. Over the years, Renee Nashoda has also made appearances on Storage Wars. He thinks there must be some illicit activity connected to the money. It wasn't in the bank for a reason, after all. Many proposals were made, but none of them were accepted. Typically, the buyer of a storage unit becomes the owner of everything within. With this one, it was different. After a while, Laura and Dan located the original owner of the storage facility, who was furious that everything had changed hands. It was only a short time before he received legal counsel. He demanded the return of everything, even the cash. Things didn't go well, even though the original owner was prepared to haggle with the locker buyer. The lady's friend only offered $600,000 for the $7.5 million they had discovered inside the safe. The new owner was not pleased with their abrupt return, so that wasn't the only issue. The original owner was going to make another bid. The former owner wanted everything back, including every cent of the $7.5 million they'd placed in the safe, so it should be no surprise that they rejected the offer. There was just one issue. Nobody knew what occurred in a circumstance like this. Given the size of the amount, did they need to give the money back to the original owner, or did they belong to the new owner? The safe's previous owner had an alternative plan. He believed it was reasonable to demand $6.3 million and provide the new owner $1.2 million in return. The internet quickly started discussing what people might do in this circumstance. They weren't alone themselves. Dan acknowledged that he would accept the arrangement and pocket $1 million. Laura and Dan discussed how they would respond to an offer of more than $1 million in return for $6 million. Dan said that he would accept the arrangement since it would end any further talks and allow all parties to leave the situation. But it wasn't all. Dan agrees that $7.5 million is a substantial sum of money. That may, however, need a lot of running to, as nobody was certain where the money had come from. The reason it was in the storage facility initially piqued people's interest more on the internet. Why didn't the prior owner pay to rent the locker if they had all that money? For many people, placing a bid on a storage unit might be quite risky. Ultimately, the decision to take action rested solely with the new owner. They ultimately decided to accept the $1.2 million offer, leaving the situation far wealthier than when they arrived. They still had more than $1 million after covering the storage expense. Many of our lives may be changed by that amount of money, but bidding on storage lockers at auctions may be a risky endeavor. It may sometimes provide enormous rewards. In other cases, it can leave you with millions of dollars and no clue how or where to spend it. Laura and Dan have seen it all. When the money was discovered, Storage Wars wasn't present to record it. Despite his best efforts to investigate the matter, Dan never found out why there was so much money in the safe. Furthermore, he had forgotten about the auction until the lady at the charity event reminded him of it. Had Dan stayed, he would have seen one of the most remarkable events of his professional life. Better still, one of the most enigmatic episodes of the program ever might have been produced if the Storage Wars cameras had been rolling at the moment. Fortunately, the new owner made a significant profit from what at first seemed to be a loss for the previous owner. Even though they may not have received the whole sum, they still left with $1 million. Dan is kept busy with his expanding company and family. Despite missing out on one of his greatest professional opportunities, Dan the auctioneer still has much to be happy about because of his expanding company and family. Dan has established a remarkable business for himself and gained the reputation of being one of the most adored auctioneers on television. Is there anything greater than that? It seems that Dan gets to spend most of his time with Laura, the person who made it possible. The couple has a kid called Garrett together. Remarkably, Garrett followed in his father's footsteps and tried his hand at auctioneering at the age of 10. The child put his dirt bike up for sale, but was this the final one? Dan became the buzz of the internet after sharing the tale. In addition to being one of the most well-liked characters from Storage Wars, Dan's enigmatic and captivating tale had viewers on the edge of their seats. While others spoke about what they would have done in such circumstances, thousands of individuals were curious to learn all they could about the tale. It was plenty to start a conversation. But it wasn't all. Social media users flocked to Dan's video of the incident, leaving hundreds of comments and likes. Fortunately, we will continue to see Dan and Laura in the future. It may be time for us to start investing in storage units. Who knows? We'll leave with millions of dollars in extra cash.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon